Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. As you can see from the title of this video live, we're talking about the case that is currently happening in Louisiana with Pastor Spells and his neighbor. And I think that this case is happening mainly because, Pastor Spells is a pastor, and that's why, things are happening the way that they are happening right now for him. So let's let Lola give us some information on this case.
Welcome to the Digital Town Crier. This is Lola, your AI co-host. I am here with Gladys, and we will discussing the fight between Pastor Tony Spells and his 20-year-old neighbor. Everything we discuss here is for education purposes only. What law enforcement says, Tony Spell was arrested on June 23rd, 2026, and booked on a felony charge of second-degree battery by the East Baton Rouge Sheriff's Office. According to the arrest affidavit, the alleged victim, a 20-year-old neighbor, told investigators he shouted a profanity towards Spell while standing outside his home across from the church. Investigators allege Spell then crossed Hooper Road, confronted him, and assaulted him. The alleged victim was treated for injuries, with reports indicating he suffered facial injuries and required stitches. What the surveillance video reportedly shows. News organizations have obtained surveillance footage from the neighbor's family. According to those reports, Spell is seen running across the road toward the neighbor. The video reportedly shows the younger man throwing the first punch. After Spell reaches him, a struggle follows, during which Spell appears to pin the man to the ground and strike him multiple times. The video does not clearly establish everything that was said before the confrontation began. Spell's version of events. After posting bond, Spell publicly defended his actions. He claims the neighbor threatened to rape his wife and grandchildren and kill members of his family. He believed those threats were immediate and serious. He acted to protect his family and church that he has said the truth will come out in court. The neighbor family's response. The neighbor's family strongly disputes Spell's account. They say the alleged threats never occurred. Spell has been engaged in a years-long dispute with their family dating back to the COVID-19 pandemic. They describe Spell as the aggressor in this incident. They have released additional surveillance footage that they believe supports their version of events. Background to the dispute. This was not an isolated disagreement. Reporting indicates the families have been involved in a long-running conflict involving disputes during the COVID-19 pandemic, surveillance cameras, previous police complaints, lawsuits, and earlier confrontations involving Life Tabernacle Church and the neighbors. What remains unresolved? Several key issues have not been established. Whether the alleged threats described by Spell were actually made, whether Spell can successfully argue legal justification or self-defense, whether prosecutors believe the available evidence supports the felony charge, whether additional charges or plea negotiations will occur. Those questions will likely be addressed as the criminal case moves through court.
So I think one of the things that is really important for everybody to remember in this case is that nothing has been established yet, and more and more bits of information will come out, and so we just need to wait and see what's going to happen. It sounds like there is some kind of a history. It sounds like law enforcement has been involved at some point in this situation, and so we'll just have to wait and see. So when I did a quick lookup of some of the information on what the charges were against Pastor Spells, one of the things that really caught my attention was that it's a felony charge, and it can have up to 8 years. The sentence can be up to 8 years. And I believe that one of the things that took it up to being a felony charge is the fact that the injuries that the neighbor received based on the fight. That's what made it up to a felony, and things like that. So we'll have to see. I know there's an upcoming court date and all of those things, but all of that evidence and everything will be shared. One of the things that really gets me concerned, I mean, my heart just dropped when I heard what Pastor Spell said about what the neighbor shout, like the threats that the neighbor shouted. If those threats are true, it reminds me of the way domestic violence victims, or domestic violence survivors struggle to get people to get the law and people to understand the things that they are going through. So unless something happens, nobody, law enforcement really wants to step in and things like that. And so, people in domestic violence situations have to get like restraining orders and those different types of things. And if you're a caseworker or counselor or in the domestic violence world helping survivors at all, you know that restraining orders are just pieces of paper because they really don't stop anybody from engaging in the negative, harmful behavior that they wants to engage in. And so this case seems like there's something that's been going on domestically between these neighbors and this church, and everything just kind of came to a head on yesterday. And so I will try to keep up and see what happened or what will continue to happen in this case. But it sounds like it's going to be a long one. It sounds like there's going to be a lot of investigation that's needed. I know that the chief of police and the sheriff's office, everybody's kind of started releasing statements, and trying to clear their name or say what involvement they've had previously, or all these different things. So we'll just have to wait and see. But those threats and all of that towards the family, that's where my heart is like, oh wait, somebody really does need to pay attention if those things are true. It sounds like this guy, like it sounds like he's been watching this pastor to say, I'm going to harm your family when you're gone, means that he's been paying attention and knows when the pastor is not there. And I mean, there's just so many things that, is wrong with this picture, but we'll have to wait and see what comes out in court. I just hope that there's a chance or something where law enforcement can take verbal threats seriously, because when it comes to verbal threats and things like that, like unless you're threatening, like, I don't know, like a building or an organization or something directly, then they really don't pay attention when it's individual to individual, and things like that. So I hope that there's something that makes a difference here, because I mean the church is a permanent structure sitting there, and these neighbors are permanent structures sitting there. And so even when the court case is long gone and done, there might still be feelings and things like that popping up between the two sets of people. And so, yeah, so leave me a comment if you're listening to this. Let me know what you think about this whole situation. I know that, the fact that Pastor Spells is a pastor is one of the reasons this has gotten the most amount of attention, because, he actually, punched and fought the neighbor. And pastors are thought of as people who preach forgiveness and turning the other cheek and letting go and things like that. So I'm sure the his reaction is one of the things that has pushed this way into the metasphere. So let me know what your thoughts are. We will be keeping track of this case. Thank you, Lola, for giving us a quick breakdown of everything that we should know so far. And I will talk to everybody soon.